All right, so make sure my phone's on airplane mode. Good. So hip flexors, hip flexors and hamstrings. Yeah, that's where we're focusing on. Find a comfortable seat to start off in. And if you prefer to lie down on your back, absolutely fine. Find a comfortable way to be, So we're looking for essentially a way of arranging your body that gives your body a chance to sort of sigh and release, that feels fairly effortless and comfortable. You're going to start by taking your attention up to the crown of your head and just allowing your attention to drift forwards over your forehead, your brow, just seeing if you can soften and relax that area. And continuing to gently move your attention down towards your eyes. Eyelids gently resting closed, not scrunched or forced. And then to the space just behind your eyes. And is it possible to consciously try and soften that area? Continuing to move your attention down over your cheeks and your jaw, finding a little space between upper and lower jaw. And noticing how the tongue sits in the mouth. Does it feel like it's resting? Does it feel like it's held? Continuing down towards the neck. And seeing if you can swallow. And maybe feeling with that swallowing action the way that the larynx drops slightly in the throat. And as you continue to take your attention down towards the center of your chest, from there, allowing it to fan out across the shoulders, again inviting release as you go, and down through the arms, through the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, towards the wrists and the hand and the fingers. Maybe you can feel that gentle sense of tingle or pulse in the hand and the fingertip. Does it feel like that attention is contained? Is there a sense of perhaps movement, a flow of energy? And does it stop at the tips of the fingers? Or is there any sense of it moving out just beyond? Start to bring your attention once again towards the center of the chest. And allow it to move over the rib cage. And it might instinctively move towards the front of the ribs. Try and make sure that you have a little bit of time to check in with the front, the side, and the back of the rib cage. So that as you breathe, you get a sense of the movement that occurs there. Maybe see if you can slightly deepen your inhale and find a bit more softening, a bit more movement, or a bit more release rather, of the intercostal muscles. Continuing to move your attention down towards the waist, the belly, and again seeing if you can take a moment to wrap your attention around the body, the front, the side, and the back. And as you continue to move your attention down towards the pelvis, towards the hips, the pelvis hopefully settling heavy onto your mat. And your hip sockets, maybe getting a sense or even picturing in your mind's eye the way that the head of the femur slots into that hip socket. And continuing to shift your attention down to the thighs, towards the knees, towards the lower legs, the ankles, the feet, and the toes. And once again, is there a sense of energy or flow through the legs? Is there a sense of containment or a sense of continuation? And then allowing your attention to wash over your body as a whole. One more chance to check in if there are any areas that are holding on to any tension or any tightness. Another chance to encourage a little more release. And then from here, you're just going to pop one foot on the floor in front of you. So the knee will be bent. Doesn't matter which leg it is, but just finding a comfortable position and taking your hands and literally just rubbing them up and down your leg. Eyes can be open or closed here. So we're going to be having a bit of a focus on the hip flexors at the front of the hips and the hamstrings, this group of muscles that kind of wrap down the back of the leg. So just trying to build quite a strong kind of mind-body connection, physical connection to the legs, to the hips, to these areas. And just switching sides, and nothing too technical, nothing too formal. Just literally using a little bit of physical contact to connect with these areas, to bring a bit of extra warmth in, maybe to stimulate a bit of blood flow, and perhaps to get, again, this sense of kind of flow of blood or of energy, however you want to think about it, kind of through the leg. But take a moment to pause once again. You can keep your legs as they are, you can recross them, you can rearrange. Close your eyes and just tune in now. Sorry, not to her, but to the tingling in your legs, and probably in the palms of your hands as well, but try and focus on the legs. If we think about our hamstrings, can we try throughout this practice and maybe even beyond to connect with them in a way that is soft and calm and kind? As you sit here, can you picture your hamstrings as being long and fluid and warm? And the same thing at the front of the hips. So if usually we tend to focus on or are almost drawn to a sense of tightness there, instead, can you picture them, imagine them as being, again, soft, open, warm, Can you have an air of patience towards your body? When you're ready, you might want to have your strap to hand. You're going to start to make your way down to lie on your back and come into just hugging the knees in towards the chest. Carefully, no. Coming down, hugging the knees in towards the chest. You are welcome to stay in that kind of still position if you want to rock the knees or make circles or bring in any movement, you can. We're coming into our first forward fold. That fold at the front of the hips. Finding a little bit of release through the low back. And if you're moving, maybe you are massaging out a little bit the back of the pelvis or more of the hips. And then when you feel ready, moving it into a happy baby. Careful, careful. Baby's just sitting on the tortoise, sorry. Into your happy baby, soles of the feet towards the ceiling, knees bent. Holding on again any way that feels most comfortable, whether that is holding the feet or holding off the backs of the knees, the thighs. Movement or stillness, it's up to you. But trying to focus on finding a little bit of gentle release in the hips, in the shoulders as well. So the arms adding, if it's appropriate, just a small amount of gentle traction to the hips. And then asking again, just for a little bit of length and release through the low back also. And from here, when you're ready, coming into a hamstring stretch on the right leg. So the left foot, good girl, is either going to come sole of the foot to the mat or left leg out along the mat. If you want your strap to help you here, feel free to grab it. Otherwise, catching hold of that right leg again, anywhere that feels comfortable. So not coming straight into a place of tension. But we're looking for a gentle hamstring release, as opposed to a strong hamstring stretch. Once again, encouraging the head, the neck, the shoulders to be heavy. The back of the pelvis to be heavy. And in this stretch, take your attention to the back of your right leg. And does it still feel like there's a sense of fluidity and flow to the back of the leg, or does it feel like it's stopped? It's kind of trapped somewhere. And we're looking for that continuous flow, if possible, where possible. And then right hand is going to come to the inside of the right leg, or take both sides of the strap in your right hand. Left hand is going to come to left side of your front of the left hip. And take a moment there to pause and to bring your attention into the back of your pelvis and to the way that it sits on the mat. And I'd like you to keep that kind of stable pelvis and keep your attention on that stability of the pelvis as you start to carry your right leg gently out towards the side. So try not to let the kind of ego mind get caught up in the right leg going as far out as possible. Can you keep your attention? Can you choose to keep your attention in the back of the pelvis and in that stability? And let that be the most important thing. A lot of movement, a big range of motion with this right leg is a thing that we tend to feel is, or our ego tends to feel is more impressive. But can we disassociate, let go of that kind of ego response? And again, but just take that control of where you choose to put your focus. And then gently bringing the right leg back in, taking a moment to hug the knee or take some circles, a little bit of release if you need it. Before you then come into your hamstring stretch on the second side. So again, feel free to use your strap if you want to, or not. And again, with that right leg, if having it extended feels very tight through the front of that right hip or the right thigh, then bend the knee, plant the foot, take out that kind of distraction. Maybe thinking of it less as a hamstring stretch, particularly if we have quite a habitual kind of pattern or response when we come into a strong hamstring stretch. Thinking of it instead as a hamstring release. And again, if you take your attention to the back of your back of your left leg, can we maintain, can we identify, can we encourage a sense of flow, a warmth, a fluidity through the back of the leg? Quite often in a strong stretch, that energy, that movement gets kind of trapped and stuck. So can we keep it moving? And then again, gently bring left hand to inside of left leg or straps into left hand. Right hand to front of the right hip. Again, take a moment to connect to the back of your pelvis. And trying to keep your attention there, trying to keep the pelvis steady and stable. Then starting to explore taking the left leg out towards the side. But again, trying to keep your focus, your priority on the back of the pelvis. And then gently bringing left leg back to center. Again, releasing. Having a little second to stretch or to move. But then from here, you're going to start to rock yourself up towards a seat. So you can either seat curve the spine, take a few rock and rolls up and down. In fact, you're going to come to all fours. You're going to come to all fours for a few rounds of cat and cow. Sorry. Okay, so as you come to all fours, into that cat-cow, the inhale lifting the sit bones, sending the chest forward, the shoulders back, and the exhale into your cat pose, rounding the spine, pressing the floor away firmly with the arms. As you breathe into that cow pose, the arch in your spine, trying to keep, maintain, or even increase the space at the low back, and the out breath contracting and activating as well the back of the shoulders. Starting to bring the knees towards the midline of your mat. You're going to keep the cat-cow going, but add your right leg, keeping the knee bent and the foot flexible, the toes towards the shin. As you breathe in, cow pose, squeezing right heel towards the ceiling. And as you breathe out, bringing knee towards the nose, rounding the spine. As you breathe in, again, making sure the foot is flexed as you squeeze the right heel up, so we're activating the glute, activating the hamstring. And next time that right heel is up towards the ceiling, take your time, but the left hand is going to come back and catch foot or ankle. Press down firmly through the right hand to create stability in the shoulder. Kick right foot into left hand, so we're opening up a little bit more length through the front of the right thigh, the right hip flexor, maybe through into the psoas. Trying to keep shoulders away from the ears to get a little bit of space between the vertebrae and the lumbar spine. Releasing knee towards nose and crossing right thigh over left, so it might take a little bit of a wiggle. Right thigh over left. Move the heels away from each other to opposite sides of the mat. as you press the hips back towards your heels. Your bum might come all the way down to the floor, it might be hovering. As long as you feel that it's bearable, it's okay for you, and it doesn't matter too much. It's somewhere between more of a cow face or more of a cross-legged child's pose, depending on your body. From here, you're going to come forwards into a parallel pigeon. So I'm going to bring my right knee towards the top of the mat. And again, that leg is going to be parallel. So knee pointing forwards, shin parallel to the long edge of my mat. Sliding the left leg away, and my bum is kind of on my right heel. I'm actually going to grab my props here for a bit of support. So what we're looking for in this parallel pigeon is a really active back left leg. So the knee might be lifted, it might not be. But what we don't want is the hips sinking down. I want you to really think about containing the pelvis and lifting up to create a really kind of active sense of length through the front of that left hip. Just being a bit mindful of the low back. If it feels a bit pinchy, then take the body further forward. And I've got my blocks here, just to give me a little bit of added lift, added stability. And then to add to that, this left hip, you can roll it slightly forwards and slightly back. So we're kind of massaging through some of the connectors at the front of that left hip. So not just one single straight line hip flexor, but a whole variety of kind of crisscrossing bits and bobs that secure us there. When you're ready to release, blocks out of the way if you're using them. Hands come to the shoulder. No, the hands come to the mat underneath the shoulders. Pick up your back knee, and then you're going to squeeze your right leg in towards your chest. You're protracting the shoulder blade, squeezing everything in, holding there. For 3, nice, good guys. 2, and take it back, 3-legged dog. 1, right leg nice and high, take your time, adjust, maybe walking the hands in towards left foot if needs be. And take some time here. Take some time here to check in with the left leg. Yes, through the left hamstring, but also through the front of the left leg as well. Does it feel safe? Is the knee happy? Do you feel like the quad is engaged or a little bit more soft? What works better for you? You're going to step the right foot towards the top of your mat, drop your back knee down, and initially sweep your arms high. Again, we're looking for a sense of containment around the hips. You can play around with how far in or out those hips come. Similarly, if you want to change the position of your arms, you're more than welcome to. So we want a little bit of engagement, a little bit of activity around the pelvis and around the abdominals, but how much is up to you. So you could be completely passive, you could be rigid and engaged, but hopefully neither of those two, but somewhere on that kind of sliding scale in the middle. And that sliding scale, that slider doesn't have to be fixed. It could be moving all the way through. But this time as you release, you're going to come back into a downward facing dog with 4 points on the floor. Again, give yourself a bit of time to get there, a bit of time in that down dog. And checking in with whichever parts of your body kind of are calling out to you the most this morning. And then from there, coming forward into a high plank position. And in your high plank position, from the crown of your head through the front and the back of your body, can you find a sense of movement, of flow, of length, as well as that strength? From the crown of the head to the back of the body, flowing out through the heels, from the crown of the head to the front of the body, long, active front of the hips. Bit of flow through the legs, and through maybe to the toes. When you're ready, you're going to continue through a vinyasa. Take your time, you're more than welcome to take lots of extra time, lots of extra breaths. The first one that we're taking, if you want to go one movement per breath and maybe take a couple of rounds, also completely fine. Nice, Sally. When you are ready, take your time, but back into a downward facing dog. You're going to look towards the hands. Just step the feet further forwards towards the hands. So the shoulders are a little bit more like stacked over the wrists. From there, you're going to slowly lower your knees down until they're hovering just off the mat. Maybe from here, you're going to step the feet a little bit further forwards again, so they're slightly more like knees under belly button than knees under hips. Knees a millimetre off the mat for 5, 4, shoulders stacked over wrists, 3, 2, and knees come down to the mat. Nice. 1. Bring the knees in together to touch. Maybe take 1 or 2 little rounds of cat-cow here before you then start to add in the left leg. So again, foot flexed, squeezing heel towards ceiling with the in breath, and bringing knee towards nose with the out breath. Again with the inhale, toes flexed, glute and hamstring active, also lengthening through the front of that left hip. The next time the left heel is lifted, taking the right hand back to catch your foot. And again, stabilize left shoulder, push the floor away, kick left foot into right hand, try and find a bit of length, maybe sending the chest further forwards and the shoulders slightly further back. Make sure you're still breathing. And as you release knee to nose, crossing left thigh over right, moving the feet away from each other and pressing the hips towards the back of the mat, somewhere between a cow face and a child's pose. A cow face child, much like the one here in front of me. Okay. Oh, careful. You okay? It moved, didn't it? Well done. And coming forwards from here into your parallel pigeon, left knee towards the top of the mat. Again, that shin is going to be parallel with the long edge of your mat as you slide the right leg away. Maybe you've got your blocks again to help you. You want a real sense of active length through the front of that right hip. So a little bit of hugging in around the pelvis, maybe trying to make the right leg longer towards the back of the mat. Again, being a little bit mindful of what's happening around the low back. And then rolling right hip or right side of the pelvis slightly forwards and slightly back. Massaging through all of those connections. Until you feel ready to release. Again, pop your blocks, your props out of the way if you're using them. Hands come down underneath the shoulders. You're going to pick up your back knee, so tuck the toe, and then you're going to suck that left knee, thigh, shin, all of it in towards your chest. In 3, 2, 1, pick it up. Holding for 3, yes, 2, and 3-legged dog, take the left leg high, 1. Again, adjust your stance if you need to. Again, you've got time here to check in with the right leg, maybe sinking right heel down if you want to, maybe allowing it to lift higher if that feels better. Maybe lifting left heel a little higher towards the ceiling. Yes, very good. And then from there, stepping the left foot towards the top of the mat, dropping the back knee down. Sweeping the arms high as a starting point, and then once again, allow yourself to change the position of the arms if you want to. If something else is, if you feel like you need a bit more opening through the chest or through the shoulders, again, think about that containment of the pelvis. Little bit of hug, maybe moving the hips further in or further out of that lunge, but using that sliding scale between completely passive and completely engaged, and exploring the space in between. So again, checking in with the front of that right hip. And as you release from here, stepping back once again into a downward facing dog, 4 points on the floor. Give yourself a little bit of time. Nice. And when you feel ready, a vinyasa, or staying as you are, or a child's pose. Again, vinyasa is a kind of a bit of punctuation, a comma or a full stop after what you've just done. Little breath, getting ready for what's next. When you're ready to move on, don't rush, take as much time as you need. You'll start to walk your feet towards the top of your mat to come into a forward fold. So trying to lean the weight into the arms as you walk the feet forwards. Allow the knees to bend, the heels to lift as the feet travel towards the top of the mat. And once you find that forward fold, again, it's up to you. How do you want to use it? Does it want to be stronger? Does it want to be a little bit more ragdoll? Trying to find, again, a sense of direction of flow, of fluidity, if possible, through the back of the legs. And maybe that's applicable to the front as well, depending on whether you like to engage or release the thighs. And checking what's happening at the hip flexors as well, the front of the hips. Do they feel like they're kind of passive and folded in half, essentially? And if so, how would it feel to imagine activating? So as if there's a thread from the front of your hips up through the back of your pelvis, and someone's pulling it, drawing you up towards the ceiling. So they're pulling the front of your hips kind of back and up slightly. When you're ready, you're going to move into a chair pose. So feel free to adjust the feet. They can be wide, they can be narrow. Again, as you find that chair pose, what's happening with the pelvis and the low back. And then from your chair pose, you're going to come to stand on your right leg. So pick the left foot up, and you're going to send the left leg out in front of you. As the left leg goes forwards though, don't let it pull everything else with it. As the left leg goes forward, pull everything else back. For 3, 2, and back into your chair pose. 1. When you're ready, standing on the left leg, picking up the right. And once again, as the right leg presses forwards rather, everything else is pulling back. For 3, 2, and back into your chair pose. 1. Moving from your chair pose into a forward fold. Again, as the front of the hips pulls up, pulls back. And from your from your forward fold, planting the hands, stepping back to a downward facing dog. Again, for your chosen vinyasa, your chosen breath, if you like. So when you're ready, from that down dog, your right leg, sorry Shana, I didn't mean to rush you. Your right leg is going to lift and is going to step towards the top of your mat. Get rising up into a high lunge. So staying on the ball of the back foot. And here it's up to you. We're going to take a little bit of balance work, a bit more balance work. So maybe taking a few kind of squeezy pulses just to kind of fire things up a bit more. Or maybe you want to get a little bit deeper into the front of the left hip. So the choice is yours. Again, you can kind of move between those 2 approaches if you like. But from here, you're going to take a big step forward, stand on your left foot or your left leg at the top of the mat, and your right toes are going to be just touching the floor in front of you. So these are going to act as a stabilizer. And we're going to have a little single leg squat, or even a pistol squat, Clay, depending on how far you want to take it. So these right toes are just there to help you with stability if it's helpful. You're going to take a single leg squat, and it might be quite small, might be very small, or you might think of dropping your bum all the way down towards your left heel. You might want to move your right leg. You might want to have your blocks to hand to help you get back up. Oh Lord. Ta-da! And then when you're ready, once you're back up, good, well done, Jen. Stand on your right leg once again, and you're coming into standing hand to foot or standing hand to knee. So you're on your right leg, left leg is lifted. If you want to grab your strap, again, you hook your foot, grab your strap. Wherever you are, those shoulders are back. Think about that fold in the front of the hip first, and then finding the length of the hamstring to follow, not letting everything kind of pull you forwards, but as that left leg moves forwards, or left foot moves forwards, everything else, knee maybe, pelvis, abdominals, ribs, shoulder, pulling back. See if you can let go of your left leg, but keep it where it is. Left hand to inside of left knee. You're going to carry it round to a hovering half moon. So as my left leg sweeps around behind me, I'm thinking of lifting out of my waist, getting longer through the spine, and the crown of the head reaching forwards as the left foot reaches back. Oh. From here, slowly lowering left foot to the back of the mat. The toes will find the floor. You'll drop the heel in and down, shift the hips back, and you'll be in a short extended triangle. So taking a moment here, maybe to check the hip. Do you want to roll left hip back or let it come more forward? Rotating the chest more or less. And then left arm is going to reach alongside the face towards the front of the mat. It's going to keep circling towards the floor, and you'll turn toes towards the long edge of the mat to come into a wide-legged forward fold. And just checking in, back of the legs. Move the feet as much as you want to. Move the hips, bend the knees. But again, do you feel kind of contracted, stopped here? Or again, can we find a little sense of flow? You're going to walk hands towards the front of your mat. So you're going to come into a lunge with the right foot forwards. In fact, you're going to come into lizard pose. So maybe taking the right foot a little bit wider than its own hip. Back knee down or up, your choice. Again, you can use your blocks if they're there, or maybe melting down towards the forearms. A little bit of support for the back of the pelvis, that gentle kind of hug, gentle activation. Again, how much? That sliding scale is up to you. And as a little optional extra, bending the back knee, right hand sweeping around to catch left foot. And if you need to, if you want to, coming up a little higher, so off left forearm, for example, to make that back foot a little more accessible. Again, when you're ready, gently releasing, planting the hands, stepping back to your vinyasa. Whatever that is, whatever form. And when you're ready, left leg is going to lift. And left leg is going to step towards the top of your mat as you rise up into a high lunge. Again, as you find that high lunge, you've got a bit of time to play around with it. Whether it's kind of pulsing, squeezing, engaging, whether it's getting a little bit deeper, a little bit lower with the pelvis, more into the front of that right hip. Make sure you're still breathing, not gritting the teeth, not tense through the shoulders. But then you're going to take a big step forward. So you'll come to stand on the right leg at the top of your mat. Your left foot are going to be or your left leg's going to be your stabilizer, optional. As you take 1 or 2 single leg squats. And they could be massive, they could be bum towards heel, they could be really small. We're trying to negotiate that fold, the adjustment of the pelvis, the strength required in the leg, as well as the release that's required around the ankle, the hip, the low back. Good. Well done. And then when you've had enough of that, standing on the left leg, picking up the right leg for standing hand to foot or standing hand to knee. Again, with your strap, without your strap is entirely up to you. Yeah. Instead of focusing on a straight leg and the foot coming up first, try and bend the knee, bring the right thigh in towards your body. Yes, Shani, that's it. And then try and keep that thigh hugged in and see if you can extend the foot up and away from there. Yeah. You might have to wrap the strap a little more around the hand. Shoulders are plugged back. Low ribs are in. Tummy is pulling in. Standing leg is firm, nice. Again, you're going to see if you can let go. And keep that leg where it is. Get right hand to the inside of right knee. And again, you're going to carry it, press it around to come into your standing, your hovering half moon. So you're going to use the play, the bend in your standing leg, extending the spine, extending the crown of the head away from that back leg. 2 directions that you're moving in. Good. Well done. And then slowly setting toes down at the back of the mat. Drop the heel in and down nicely. Done, Daddy. Good, nice, Shani. Good, into extended triangle. So the heel comes in and down, the hips move back. Left hand low, right hand high. That's it. You can play around again with what's happening at that right hip. Is it rolling forward? Are you drawing it back? What feels better for you? Same thing with the chest. More rotation towards the ceiling or less, or the space in between. Good. Reach the right arm alongside the face. Nice long extension through right side of body. And then keep it circling towards the floor as you pivot toes to the long edge of your mat to come once again into a wide-legged forward fold of some form. You might want to take it more into a sort of an exploration of a box split, taking the feet further. You might want to bring the feet in closer. Challenge that fold element. Nice. You can stay still, you can move. And then walking the hands rather to the top of the mat so you can come into your lunge and towards your lizard pose on the left side. So to give yourself immediately more space, left foot a little bit wider than its own hip. Sorry about her, she's getting tired. A little bit wider than its own hip. Again, you've got props there perhaps if you want them. You can stay on the hands, go down to the forearms. And what's happening around the pelvis? Is it completely passive? Maybe just having a little bit of a squeeze, a little bit of hugging in. And the option there as well, to bend your back knee. And take right arm back, or left if you prefer, to be honest, to catch it. Again, you might find that you want to come, if you're on your forearms, that you want to come a little bit higher onto the palm, for example, to make that back foot bind more accessible. Again, do you feel like everything now is kind of stuck, held around the hips? Can we still find just a little sense of movement, a little sense of flow? And once again, when you're ready, gently coming up onto the palms, releasing that back foot to move through your vinyasa. And once you've had that little bit of time to move or to be still, take a moment in a child's pose. Allowing your body to switch off for a moment, to just kind of let everything settle, check in, how's everything feeling? Are there any parts of the body giving you some serious feedback, or even just a little bit? When you're ready, you're just going to step your right foot towards the top of the mat, and you might want your blocks, your props ready, one on each side. So you're going to come into that lunge with the right leg forwards and start to gently shift the hips forwards and backwards on your mat. So your blocks, you might not want them. If there's like a sofa or a chair or something next to you, you might want to kind of have something to lean on. But moving the hips front to back could be faster than I'm going, could be slower than I'm going. But then starting to gradually move the feet a little bit further away from one another. So we're moving towards, or moving slightly away from a lunge and more towards a split. So you could be full lunge, you could be full split, but there is again loads of space in between. And as you move, where is your attention focused? Which parts of the body perhaps are feeling this the most? And how are you going to negotiate with those body parts? How are you going to respond to that information? And if the bigger challenge is blind panic, then maybe start by doing a little bit less, putting yourself in a place where you know, okay, I'm definitely in control here. It might not be the most comfortable, but I know that it's okay. Maybe focusing on your breath. Again, you have complete control over how far you take this, how you approach this, over how you use the engagement and the release in your body, or where your focus is. When you're ready, however you can, however you need to, making your way out. And just having a little moment, oh dear, before you come into second side. So whether you want to, again, vinyasa, whether you want to just sit or lie, but do have a moment to kind of check in, to regroup, to let those sensations, let that information kind of settle in the body. But when you're ready, there is a second side. And if it's useful, again, starting with that motion of the hips forwards to backwards. So we're not starting from a place of, again, this is just my kind of preferred approach. Instead of starting from stillness, oh God, now I have to go from here to a split. I like that kind of gentle moving. Feels a little bit kinder for me, but of course, please take whatever approach you like. And this might be your kind of more comfortable side. It might be your slightly less enjoyable side, which again might affect. Sorry, she's just got herself stuck under a chair, and might affect how you approach it. You can't go through that way, you're too big. You're too big. And again, are you taking a physical approach? You focus on physical sensations of particular parts of the body? Is your focus here again one of attention, calming the mind, or maybe giving yourself the permission to hold back from that edge, trying to focus your attention, focus your mind without letting the ego get involved? Again, you're still in control. You can move, you can adjust, you can go further, you can back off if you need to, if you want to. Well done, guys. And once again, when you're ready, however you can, wherever you want to, making your way out. Pardon me. For a breather, a vinyasa. To prepare yourself to Shavasana, for Shavasana, is actually where you're going to get to. So give yourself time to just chill for a moment as you get out of that split. And as you start to kind of think about making your way down to your Shavasana, what's your body saying? Which parts of your body are calling out to you? Do you want to take any little twists or inversions or back bends? Do you need to find a little more space somewhere? Do you need to find a little more containment? Or maybe you're just absolutely ready for that stillness. Whether you're still moving or whether you are in your Shavasana, just keeping a little bit of awareness of where your mind goes, where your attention goes. Choosing to refocus or let go if needed. I am just going to mute us and allow you guys to enjoy some stillness and some quiet. And start to become a little more aware of your breath and of the space around you, maybe of sounds, the temperature of the air on your skin, the way that your body rests on the mat beneath you. Taking your time, starting to think about bringing a little bit of movement into your body. And starting to do that whenever you get that kind of yes, that nod from your body, taking your time to ease your way from stillness to movement, from lying gradually up to a comfortable seat. And you've got loads of time, there's no rush. Looking for that position, that arrangement of your body that allows it to kind of rest. Taking a moment to check in physically, energetically. And although you're sitting still, is there a sense of stillness or is there a sense of movement and of life within the body? Thank you very much, guys. I'm sorry about the last minute, baby. I hope everything's feeling all right. Oh, dear. Have a lovely weekend and a lovely week. Waving? Oh, good girl. She looks like a little, just like Phil Mitchell. And see,
She's waving.
bye. That's a bit better. Oh, bye. You're waving. Oh dear.